everybody. Thanks for joining us at Adobe Live. I'm here with Ryan Hamrick.
Hey guys.
We're talking about drawing and painting in Photoshop today, and we're going to be working on some letter forward artworks. We'll find out more about what that means later.
Yep.
But we have, so say hello in the chat. Let us know where you're watching from. I see Sarah, Ariana, Rachel. Thank you so much for joining us this morning.
What's up, everybody?
Yeah. We have lots of other good stuff planned today, so let's take a look at the schedule really quickly. We started with the Daily Creative Challenge with Jesus Ramirez, and now we're back for day 2 of this drawing and painting stream. Later on, we have the Adobe XD Daily Creative Challenge with Sam Anderson, and then Design Systems with Hannah Jang. And I think Ryan will be a host later on too, that's awesome.
Which was so much fun, and anybody who stuck around from yesterday morning and was there for the afternoon session and is maybe back this morning, appreciate you guys being such huge fans of me. But yeah, it's going to be a lot of fun. We're going to really dive into XD later and talk about some fun stuff and rework some app things that have been bugging Hannah over the last couple of years, and she kind of finished them last. So it's going to be good.
Great.
Yeah.
So let us know if you're here for day 2, if you're here yesterday, or if you're brand new. Jabet, Atul, thank you so much for coming this morning. All right, so in about 30 minutes, we'll have a chat and win. And all you need to do to participate is make sure you're logged in on behance.live/live. And all you have to do is be active in the chat. Ask Ryan all kinds of questions, make jokes, demands, whatever.
Big fan of dad jokes. I've been a dad for over 14 years now and practicing them for even longer. So if you got any good ones, let me know.
I'm sure you need to refresh your
I'm
repertoire.
going back to my family tonight, and so I need to come prepared with some fresh material. So if you guys have anything good, you can please share so I can go back armed for maximum eye roll capacity. Yeah.
Ultimate prize for a dad, right?
Heck yeah.
So we'll be giving away 100 free stickers from Sticker Mule. And we also have the Daily Creative Challenge happening, so definitely check out the Challenge tab on Behance if you're interested, and you can get all the information there. Submit what you're working on, and we'll be looking at those submissions later on.
So good. Can't wait.
So with that all out of the way, do you want to introduce yourself, talk about your work, what we did yesterday, everything?
I suppose. Yeah, no, I'm Ryan. I am a letter director and just recently founded a studio where we kind of focus on all things letters, from type design and lettering to branding. Very primarily, we do a lot of logo work and stuff that has a strong focus on the letter part of it, from either the logo type itself or very letter-based, like iconic logo marks and stuff. And advertising, all kinds of good things. So that's always been kind of my focus in design, was strictly letter things, and so I kind of am trying to expand that into doing a little bit more with that, and kind of advocating for what I do and what my peers do as a whole in the world, and how it's looked at as far as a crucial design tool in the designer's toolbox, if you will. So that's me, and I have been doing this lettering piece. We started this yesterday. I kind of had a sketch that I wanted to start with, and it's just this lettering piece that I actually do want to ultimately paint on a canvas. Something I don't do a ton, but I want to do more of. But as with anything, analog or not, it always starts for me digitally, so I can plan it and feel really warm and fuzzy about the spacing and everything else that I would normally screw up if I just went straight to a canvas and ruining it. So yeah, I'm planning out something that I want to actually paint in the physical space, but using Photoshop to kind of get me there, and the awesome brushes that we've got in there. So. And
you're working on an iPad with AstroPad?
Right. Yes. So cool. I've put all my money into iPad as far as tablets go, and the way that it works as a graphics tablet has been super impressive, and it works really, really well, and it's great for just kind of using these tools to their fullest, right? These brushes have awesome settings to respond to pressure and tilt of the pencil and all that, and being able to do that gets you really, really close to you experience that you have in the real world with analog tools. So being that is how that works, and then I can undo when I screw up constantly. It's a perfect zone for really getting those ideas out and perfecting things for sure. So yeah, I think we can probably just dive right back into it. I just really found the brushes again that I had, and I actually want to. I've been using this brush, one of Kyle Webster's brushes, and he has a specific brush set called Letterers. There's a bunch of really cool stuff in there for a lot of like higher contrast lettering type tools that are good specifically for drawing like a brush pen would or something. I'm gonna mute that.
Higher contrast, like thicks and thins?
Right, exactly, you got it. Yes, so the contrast between, the thinner areas and the thicker areas is, what the contrast of letters is, and, a more unified look is very cool, very hard to do, but the bigger difference between the two is something that I usually go for. Creates a very elegant look and things. So a lot of these are built that way. But this one that I was using yesterday, this pretty tilt, as it's called.
We love it.
And the tilt, again, refers to like it responding to the actual tilt of your pencil. So as I move around and I turn it one way or the other, it behaves accordingly, and it kind of follows my movement there. Some are fixed, some are, kind of doing other things or set up different ways, but this particular one is set to fully react to what I'm doing, which I love. But I want to actually make it a little bit more high contrast. Okay. So I'm gonna actually jump into that brush and tweak some settings real quick so that it behaves a little bit more like what I'm looking for finishing up this piece and accomplishing what I want to do. So the way that I do that is I've got my brush panel open over here, and I want to come over to the brush settings tab that I also have. And the one that I have selected right now is what pulls up initially. And we've got all kinds of little categories of settings on the left-hand side, and then some kind of general brush-wide settings down at the bottom there. And then that big window of brush shapes is kind of like all the other brushes around me right now. But there's a couple things I can do right from here. You can change the spacing, which is basically like each of those brush shapes, the brush movement across the canvas is basically plotting a bunch of those points, right? So whatever your brush shape is, it's kind of just like stamping it across the thing. So the spacing is like how much gap you have between each of those applications of that brush tip. So I think that part of it's good on this brush for sure. And then you've got roundness and the angle again, and this brush is kind of following my pencil, so I don't need to do anything with that kind of stuff. But what I do want to go to is I want to go to the shape dynamics thing over here on the left-hand side. And what that brings up is some size, an angle, and roundness jitters, and kind of some of the settings and how those are controlled. And what I want to do is I want to actually, so the size jitter is set to pen pressure. And what I want to do is, I think, this has been a while since I dove into this stuff, but what I want to do is kind of bump that up a little bit so that it responds more to what I'm doing with the pen pressure.
We have a few questions already.
Yeah.
Eileen asks if you highly recommend making your own brushes. I guess this is one way to get started.
Yeah,
at least.
Absolutely. I think, oh, you know what? This is what I want to do. I want to bump this minimum down so it goes thinner. That's what I want. Okay. Absolutely. Every brush that I've ever made in any drawing application, the best way to do it is to start with something that you like, that is kind of like, has a texture that you really love, or has, kind of the behavior to pressure and stuff that you really like, but maybe something else could be slightly different or slightly better for what you're looking for, and just kind of go in there and start fiddling with the sliders and make it what you want. And now you've got your own brush, and then you do it another time, and pretty soon you start to see exactly what all those settings do. And then once you kind of have a really good feel for it, you start to get these ideas of like, okay, what if I wanted to make a brush that behaves exactly like a Crayola washable marker or something, right? Because it's like, that's one of my favorite analog tools. It's cheap, it's awesome. And with all these amazing settings that are in here, you can absolutely get that look, especially once you start figuring out, just by tinkering around, what each of those things does to that brush. So I absolutely recommend finding things that you like, seeing how they're set up, and then just trying it yourself.
And one other thing that you might not have tried is Adobe Capture. That's one way that you can grab actual real-life textures to create a brush that work seamlessly in Photoshop. So definitely look into that too.
Yeah, especially for those textures. That's like a killer tool for really capturing some of that analog feel really easily. And I'm going to actually make it so that this transparency doesn't go so low with low pressure. Let me see here. I need to look at my computer screen. My eyes are going bad, Erica.
That's pretty small UI.
It really
You can
is.
make that bigger, you know.
Can I?
No. We're not there yet.
Okay.
Tim has a dad joke.
There we go.
I don't have the
wanna hear it.
punchline yet. But it's what do you call a path that eats other paths? Tim, we're waiting for the punchline.
Path that eats other paths. Is this a combination dad design joke? Because that would be pretty incredible. That would be something that
It's your niche.
it's right in my wheelhouse because
Yeah.
most of my jokes are hilarious to me and either completely opaque to my kids. It's just like they don't get the reference. They don't get how funny it is. Obviously, I mean, I know they're funny, but like sometimes they're just really underappreciated. I feel like so.
Pun intended, opaque.
It runs deep, you guys. All right, I need to bump this.
Hanimal vector. Pretty good.
Pretty good.
We like it.
Pretty good. It is a dad design joke. Dad designer is what I used to call myself, a stay-at-home dad designer. So I like it a lot.
So Leonardo's asking how I get the brushes. If you just do a Google search for Kyle brushes, you can get them all for free with your Creative Cloud subscription.
I got an even better route.
Oh.
Okay, go into your brush panel in Photoshop. Tap your little menu there. No, it's not that one. Sorry, we got to go to the actual brushes panel, not brush settings. Let me go here. Brushes, menu, get more brushes,
Oh, it's that easy.
and it takes you right to this download page of all these awesome Kyle Webster brushes. And see, these are some of the ones that I'm using right now. So we've got the Mega Pack, which has like over 300 different brushes in it, all kinds of different styles and stuff. A special watercolor pack, all this cool thing. The manga brushes, I just was playing around with these this week, and I'm going to be using some of the half-toning brushes later on to do some shading and stuff, and they are really mind-boggling how they're working. We were just talking about this before we started, but they are super cool, and we're gonna kind of dabble in that a little bit and see how incredible they actually work. But there's specific halftone ones, and then this letterers one right here is the one that I'm actually using right now. We've got a bunch of really cool lettering specific things that are really tied to what letterers are wanting in brushes in general. So pretty sweet. But yeah, that easy to get to it right from where you're already working.
So much stuff.
Yeah.
So much work to be made.
All right, so I'm in here tweaking this brush still, and it's not.
Oh, somebody was asking if it's possible to share brushes, and like Tim says, yes, you can absolutely, just everyone has access to those Kyle brushes, but if you use libraries, you can share brushes that you've created with something like Capture with whomever, just via a link. It's pretty cool.
So cool. And the brushes are where it's at. I mean, like, you know, you can draw in Photoshop with anything. You can draw with the pencil tool if you really want. If you really want to really get pixel specific and detailed, that's, you know, there's nothing wrong with that at all. But when you start to unlock the depth and the power of the things you can do with custom brushes, it becomes really kind of almost scary in how how much you can do with it, to the point where it's like I get option paralysis sometimes. It was like, oh man, I think of so many things I could do, but what to start with? I don't even know. Let me just draw with the same thing I always do, because I'm lazy.
If it works, it works.
That's right. That's true. That's the important part. Ooh, I've got a little spot here that I need to fix. There we go. So this brush, let me go in here. I'm still kind of tweaking this brush, and this is kind of the thing that that I always say to people, like, you know, you don't know sometimes what a setting has done to a brush until you get in there and you start messing with it. I'm trying to figure out what else I need to do to make this exactly like what I'm looking for. So that's a little more size jitter. Very cool. It's adding a lot more texture in it with that jitter in there, which is kind of interesting.
I see it.
Or the effect of texture, right? It's kind of like that jitter is like shifting how closely that brush shape aligns with the path that I'm drawing. So like as it's kind of like wobbling a little bit more, you instantly get a lot of that rougher edge and a little texture. And any texture that exists in that brush shape is a little bit more randomized. So it's kind of like it eliminates that smooth, streaky kind of look that it can have sometimes, and like bounces it around a little bit so it gets a little more rough and raw and kind of more like a dry brush kind of effect or something. Pretty cool. I want to turn that.
So what's the goal? What are you trying to achieve with the settings?
With the brush. Okay, so what I'm trying to achieve mostly is to get that higher contrast. I'm looking down here and this brush, that doesn't work, okay. This guy here, and I'm seeing that this is allowed to go really, really small because I've kind of bumped down, and actually I'm gonna bump the minimum diameter all the way down. So minimum diameter is kind of like a stop so that it can't go any less than such and such percent of the size that I have set. And so if you have that at 100 like it was before, then that means like it can never go below 100% size, which is like zero contrast whatsoever. So I want it to be a lot more responsive to my pressure, so that's kind of what I'm setting up. So now, oh yeah, there we go. So now if I press lightly, it's small, and then as I press heavier, it gets thicker. And I didn't do a good smooth pressure transition, but there we go,
Nice.
a little better. And so now that it's responding and going a little smaller, I feel like I can kind of maneuver some of these thick and thin areas of my sketch a little bit more efficiently. And I can squeak on my clean iPad screen again. I can't keep remembering that. I should have just left it dirty.
I like it.
It's my screen, I promise. We were talking about our stomachs growling earlier.
Yeah. Let us know if you can hear that. So Bruno's asking, he says he just joined the daily challenge. Cheers, That's great. So if you don't know what that is, if you click over to the challenge tab, you'll get all the information about the Daily Creative Challenge, and you can even submit what you've made, and we'll be reviewing some of those submissions later on.
Can't wait to see what you guys are doing.
Island says, awesome brush.
Yeah, now it's really working the way I want it to now, which is really cool. It's exciting to be able to get in there and like get something close, but like it's bugging you in one way or another that for what you're trying to accomplish, but you can go in and you can change everything, which is like, it's super helpful to be able to do that and just really make it to be exactly what you need in the moment and on the fly. Like if you maybe this brush was working totally fine for, oops, I just switched to eraser apparently. I don't know how I did that. Must be a weird AstroPad thing. It registered my my wrist or something. I don't know. But yeah, so like if I used this brush the way that it was by default all day yesterday, and it was okay. And then I got in here, and the exact same settings that I was just kind of dealing with while talking yesterday just really were bugging me this morning, so I decided to switch it up, and now it's kind of doing more what I want.
And we have work to do.
Yes.
So we're going to expedite this.
Yeah.
Happy says that looks awesome.
Thanks.
Yeah.
All right.
Beautiful. Francisco, thank you. In about 10 minutes, we have the chat and win. You'll be hoping to win 100 free stickers from Sticker Mule. And all you have to do is participate in the chat, ask questions, say hi.
I'm rooting for you guys. Every one of you.
I'm kind of jealous, to be honest.
That's what I meant by I'm rooting for you, is like, I'm being polite, because really, curse you all.
They can't hear the squeak, apparently.
Oh, good.
I think it's very charming, personally.
It's like a little ASMR drawing. And now,
It's like it has a life.
And now we're going to slide gracefully across the screen. What do you guys think? ASMR YouTube channel design drawing? Pencils across paper?
We can whisper the rest of the show.
I don't know, our stomachs might overtake our whispers if we're too quiet.
Island is wondering if you have any tips for a steady hand. I'm shaky too, so I am curious.
Yeah, that's a great question. We talked about smoothing yesterday because somebody remarked how I didn't have it on, and I immediately tried to reject any idea that I don't use it because it's super helpful in so many instances. But the smoothing can help for sure, even just like at a very small percentage. Just kind of taking the edge off ever so slightly of whatever little tiny movements that you're making can go a long way. And the little percentage doesn't need to be much to really just kind of like take your smallest little movements out of the equation. What is happening here, Astropad? You're crazy. But the other tips are, one thing that I really like, especially for tablet drawing, is this glove that I have on. This little 2-finger glove. Tons of brands make them now. I've been using it for a really long time. I think I got my first one like maybe 5 years ago. But basically what it is, it kind of started out as a thing to keep you from smudging your actual sketches on paper. But then it kind of immediately became this thing that people that drew on glass, on Cintiqs and tablets of all kinds, realized, okay, this is actually really, really helpful for, fighting, palm input to, just, and the biggest benefit for me is to be able to move more freely across the screen. So like if you've ever if you've ever drawn on a glass screen, right, we've got the immediate problem, and maybe this is mostly just me being particularly sweaty and moist half the time, but you stick to the screen, right? And if you're trying to do something like this where you're doing like especially longer smooth strokes and things where you want to kind of like just trust your hand and let it go and see how long you can go and do something in one stroke, the glass just immediately cancels out any efforts that you're doing because you start skipping across the screen, right, and sticking to it. So this just helps you move really, really smoothly, and it helps with shaking too, and all the little things that go into trying to sketch in this kind of weird environment on glass where it's really smooth and crazy. So that has been a big help for me too.
You know what I was thinking? When your hand goes in front of your t-shirt, it looks like you have a Ninja Turtle hand. Like 2 fingers.
I like it.
Weird.
Yeah, the floating hand. This has been my secret all along. My hand is secretly detached from me and does what it wants. It's got a mind of its own. It's all a hand.
I noticed that so we were talking about how you have big smooth movements and your glove helps with that. I noticed that you move from your not from your wrist, from your elbow and your shoulder when you're lettering a lot.
That is really interesting that you say that. That is like the recommended thing for people doing calligraphy and whatever, is like, keep your movement in your shoulder joint, right? To kind of like just move the whole arm. And I've really never been good at that. I do it more on tablet drawing just because I can move so much more freely like that. And also having that undo button gives me the confidence to try and do something that I wouldn't normally maybe try and do on paper because it would take so long to just take a step back and erase and whatever. So yeah, it's weird in a lot of ways. Drawing on the iPad has kind of like helped me train those muscles that I didn't have the muscle memory for before when I just exclusively worked on paper, to like be a little bit more controlled, because before I didn't have any instincts to do that, and I was never good at it. I always was like moving in my wrist and my fingers, right? And so as I'm doing this on here and moving in larger areas, that becomes a little bit more of a necessity, right? Because you can't really do very smooth things if you're just kind of staying in one spot. But and also it just kind of gave me the freedom in some ways to use that method and get better at it, because it does help you draw better in general. Your whole arm has a lot more capacity to move in smooth ways than just your fingers.
Jennifer is asking, are you using an iPad with Photoshop? Yep, with AstroPad.
Yes.
Connecting them.
Oh yeah, so I am not, I'm not running Photoshop on my iPad yet, if that's what you're asking, but yeah.
That's not a thing yet.
Come on, they know. They know, but no, I'm not. And if you weren't asking that, then yes, I'm just controlling my Photoshop on my MacBook here. See, that's still not going as small as I want it to, darn it. And when it does, it's like really, really opaque, transparent.
So relaxing watching you fill these letters.
Thanks. Yeah, it's meditative, right? It's like you can just really get lost in a piece. Erase. I need to fix my eraser. This thing.
Steve says, send the stickers to help me battle the evil orcs. Here in New Zealand. Okay, it all came together at the end.
Ah, yes.
So you're talking about Hobbit stuff.
Middle world? What am I talking about?
Middle Earth?
Middle Earth. I'm speaking from very little experience.
Me too.
I'm gonna not say anymore. I don't want the people who have just found out about me and like what they see to immediately run away.
You're not nerdy enough.
Yeah, that's right.
Okay, Tim says, one last type joke before chat and win.
Please.
What's the opposite of rock ill?
The opposite of rock ill.
Rockwell. What's the opposite of Rockwell?
Is that the font? I don't know.
I don't know.
Jazz poorly. I don't know. We need to know. Let us know. Opposite of Rockwell.
We're hanging on the punchline. Let's see.
What'd you do if they like lost their connection and like their power went out or
I'll be
something and
thinking
we
about
never
it.
knew? I would be like, all right, well, we can't stop being live until we find out. Somebody track him down. Let's get him back online.
Lindsay says she's really butchering this. It's true. I'm sorry. I'll take the blame for that one. Tim says rock ill is the opposite of Rockwell. I tried.
Ah, okay, gotcha.
Okay. We'll catch you on the next one.
So it wasn't a typo. It was the joke, and we were just too dense to.
I was ready to. I was ready to take the
like,
blame.
I don't know. Oh, cool. Yeah, we got our like little feed here of my tablet here.
Yeah, I like that. Thanks, Paco.
Yeah. It's the glove cam. I really like
Might
that.
have to workshop that branding. It seems like you're kind of selling people on the iPad right now.
Yeah?
Yeah.
I'm telling you guys, when it first came out, the very first iPad Pro, I'd had an iPad, but you know, like most people, it was like a cool thing to have. It was fun for just kind of sitting on the couch and just browsing the internet, whatever. And I never really used it much. And then when the iPad Pro came out, I'd be using a Cintiq for a minute, and it was like an old used one that I got to just try, and I just never really could get into it, and I kind of just used it to mask sketches that I would do on paper anyway. So it was kind of like a very limited thing. And then the iPad Pro came out, and I was just like, okay, if anybody can really nail the tablet drawing experience, maybe Apple would be the one to do it. And so I was just like, I'm gonna buy it. Worst case scenario, I've got a killer iPad that, you know, maybe I spent more than I should have on, but it'll be fine. Processing's cool, whatever.
Yeah.
And then it just turned out to be like the thing that I've always wanted. I really got into drawing digitally at that point, and the way that it works with Photoshop is like it's a constant just shock and awe for me. It just always works way better than I think it would, and it's just amazing. Even wirelessly, you can just I can connect to my iMac in my office at home and sit on the couch and draw. It's real
That's
cool.
great.
Fireworks. What does that mean?
That means we're ready for the chat and win.
Yes.
We're going to be giving away 100 free stickers from Sticker Mule, little 3x3s. So type in the chat, tell us some more dad jokes, let us know what you're going to put on your stickers, all of that.
If it's a dad joke sticker.
All right.
Oh yeah.
Fireworks feel so good.
Yeah, it feels like you really accomplished something, right?
Yeah.
Like
everyone's super stoked about the stickers.
Stirkers.
Who doesn't love them?
Oh my god.
Nobody's good at jokes. No dad jokes. I'm so disappointed.
Not enough dads in the chat.
More dads.
I heard a whole podcast episode on dad jokes that was pretty interesting. And then basically moms make just as many of the same jokes, but dad has become ubiquitous with like the dork parent.
Yeah.
So I don't know how I feel about that, but they're good jokes. So lay off.
G.A. Kim,
So many
congrats.
chats. Hey!
The stickers are all yours. But for those of you who didn't win, I'm sorry. But we do have a deal for you. You're going to get 10 stickers for $1 using this sticker mule code.
Wow.
It's still a great deal.
Adobe Live 19.
Yeah.
Use it. I was going to say or lose it, but you probably won't. I mean, you
No.
probably just keep using it. Use it every time.
Use it, don't abuse it.
It's probably a one-time thing, I guess.
Yeah.
Probably you got to log in or something. But
Make some stickers anyway is the
stickers.
point.
10 stickers. So good.
Thanks, y'all.
Thanks for chatting, you guys.
Yeah.
I think this is like one of my favorite parts of doing these lives is the fact that not only can people ask questions and get the awesome feedback, but like you're guaranteed a chance to get something out of the thing, and it's just like, that's so cool.
And you've been dropping the knowledge since yesterday.
I hope so. Yeah,
I think that's
um,
the real value. I mean, stickers are great, but
Yeah, true. Yeah, stickers are pretty cool. But then, you know, one of the things that you can do with that sticker is put it on the MacBook running Photoshop. Or your iPad. I don't know. Does anybody put stickers on iPads? I feel like you see it less maybe, but
yeah,
I don't know.
maybe.
Maybe that's where I'll start putting stickers. Send me your stickers that you win, and I'll strongly consider a placement on my iPad as a memory of this
Oh,
live.
yeah. So sweet. How do you feel about maybe zooming out and just really quickly going over your concept for this for people who weren't here yesterday?
Oh yeah, totally. So here is our overall piece, and I think I just erased. Okay, there we go. Get out of there. So, are you content with being content? That is the very, I don't know, kind of semi-dark humor commentary on social media and the world, a world that has very much benefited me greatly in my career. It's been pretty much the biggest driver of business that I've had over the years and stuff. So it's kind of a bittersweet thing where it's something that that has been really good to me, and I will not stop using anytime soon. But I do it almost begrudgingly sometimes because of what it turns me into as far as like the things I care about and stuff sometimes. So I feel like this is my way of like using it still, but like letting people know that it's in protest. And so yeah, these are ultimately going to be.
It's important to evaluate.
I think so.
Yeah,
Yeah,
your position in all of this.
Yeah, if I'm going to be doing something that is questionable, I should at least voice my opinion of how I
and
feel
make
about
other
it.
people think about
That's
it.
right. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's the thing, right?
Yeah,
It's supposed to be art that makes you think, as with most art. And then this is going to be one of several pieces that I am planning on actually doing on canvas, but in reverse. So I'm not going so crazy as to plan them in reverse, but I will be reversing and then painting them in reverse. So
Like a
that
mirror
when you're
image.
viewing them in the gallery, to see them really, really well and in their ideal way, you have to take a selfie with it and post it on Instagram. So
Because it'll flip you.
yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's so cool.
So it's like commentary inception on social media criticism for social media. So yeah, so that's what we're working on, and we got the sketch done now. I filled
Yay.
this in with this cool, very textured brush that kind of resembles maybe some white paint that I might be using on it. And then now I'm gonna kind of play around with some things that may or may not make it into the final piece, but are some fun ways to use some of these other brushes in Photoshop and some more color and things to add some shading and some more texture and things to this piece that I may or may not include in the final. But this is the fun place where I can play with some ideas that maybe I couldn't very easily do in real life, but can really make happen here. So that's the plan.
Cool.
Yeah.
Let's do it.
I hear lasers being talked about. All right. So I'm going to do some other things on another layer here. So let me just add a new layer down there. And I'm going to go into these brushes that I just put in here. And we talked earlier about the halftone brushes, right? I think that halftone is something that I've always been really fascinated with and have always been kind of stumped by. Especially, Photoshop makes it pretty easy to like take an image or whatever you have and make a halftone of it, but that's kind of like a funny science that I've really just not taken the time to figure it out. But I realized this week that in one of these brush kits from Kyle, there is a pretty magical set of brushes that are specifically for halftone. So let me think here.
I like magic.
Yeah, it's
Is it in the
magical.
manga
It's ridiculous.
set? Yeah.
So that's what I'm looking in right now. I'm trying to remember where the one that I was super fascinated by was. Let me see here. So there's some really cool horizontal ones and stuff in here, and like line-based halftone, which is also kind of something that I've been always looking for and never found. I don't want fill grid. I think it might be. There's actually a halftones and screen tones kit as well.
Oh.
And I think the screen tones was the one, or no, halftones. Let me see. We're gonna find it, and we're just gonna play around with several of them, I think, because they're all amazing.
Yeah. I can't even imagine what some of those look like.
Dirty, right? I know. Just looking at these brush strokes, it's kind of like, I don't know how that's gonna play out, but it's gonna be incredible, and you're gonna love it. Let's see. Dots. It's one of the dot ones. So there's all kinds of shapes too. Like you think of dots, of halftone as being a bunch of circles, right? But these are all kinds of stuff. Circles, various shapes. There's one called brain, which kind of is like a squiggly, almost kind of looks like a composition notebook pattern.
Okay. Cool.
But like with pressure, it kind of creates like darker and lighter shaded areas and stuff. It's so cool. So I've got one here. It's called Tight Dots. And I'm gonna grab a color. What color should I use? I'm thinking purple. Since I have some purple in that background, I'm gonna get a little bit of a purple color here.
Yeah, if you weren't here yesterday, Ryan made this background in fresco.
Yeah.
It was pretty cool. Go back and watch that after this. Paul has a joke.
Yes.
What should you say to someone who doesn't want to use serifs? Actually, I'm not sure if that's a joke or just a straight up question. I guess we'll find out soon.
What do you say to a person who doesn't want to use serifs? Man, I feel like I'm just total brain farting on all the type humor here. I don't know. What do you call somebody who doesn't want to use serifs? We'll see.
Purple halftone. I'm ready.
Okay.
Ooh.
So that was that. Let me go back here. Okay. So I'm going to bump this size down here. I think that's about where I want.
I like that.
Okay, so this is not the brush that I wanted, but you can see here, like, that is going to easily paint in halftones. And so, like, if you wanted to set up a mask based on the content of that other layer, like, let's just do that. Let's take a look at that. Oh, you know what? I painted that right on a duplicate of the background, so that's not gonna work. Anyway, I could come in here and do something like that, grab the eraser, clean that edge up, whatever, and I could just create like a uniform halftone shaded area.
Cool.
That's totally fine. Really cool brush, not the one I was looking for though, so let's keep looking. There's several that respond to pressure and make the dots themselves heavier and lighter based on your pressure, which is what I want. I think it's these guys. Okay.
Okay, what should you say to someone who doesn't want to use serifs?
Yeah, we need to figure this out.
Get with the times.
Get with the times, New Roman. What are you, some kind of New Roman? I like it. Kids won't get that one, so it's perfect for me. I still need a smaller brush. I'm trying to get in here with these details.
Paka says, dad joke certified.
Love it. So the cool thing about these halftone brushes too is like the placement of the dots. There's been a lot of brushes that I've played with where as soon as you pick up and start a new contact with the canvas, it bases its placement based on where that is. But this one is set up in such a way where that every time I put the brush down, the dots all stay in the same location on the canvas. So it respects the whole space, not just where I'm putting my pencil down. So as I build up and I create more and more shade, it respects that as being like over the top of what I've already done, so it can build up a little bit and not look totally crazy with wild placement. So as I've already done this guy here, I can come in and kind of like
oh, that's amazing.
add a little bit more fill into there.
So instead of adding more dots, it's making your dots bigger.
Yeah, it's adding mass or something to the ones that are already there in those same spots. So And again, I'm gonna delete that edge here, or delete, what am I talking about? Erase. And I need to get a new eraser brush. I got this like blunt, hard mechanical pencil, hardcore pencil. Let me do, what do I wanna do? I guess let me do a small, softer pencil, yes. Nice and small, okay. So then come in here, get rid of those guys. Maybe not that small. Okay. And clean that up.
Ellen says, you've heard of alphabet soup. Now get ready for Times New Ramen. I think that's my favorite so far. That's my niche.
Food-based puns?
Yeah, specifically noodle plus design
Oh,
puns.
okay. Well, man, you talk about specificity. I'll tell you what. I thought I was crazy with only learning ever how to draw letters. You guys are on a whole new level. Okay, so I made a classic rookie mistake of drawing my little halftones right on top of my painted letters.
Oops.
So as I started to erase my lettering. So magic of Photoshop, though, I can undo, start over.
You know
so,
layers are free, right?
I know. This is great. I need to remind myself that layers are free. Some applications try and restrict your layer use. Not Photoshop. Yeah, so now we're gonna get that little kind of darkened edge in there.
Do you like when it's sort of offset a little bit?
That can be really cool.
Yeah.
I think for my purposes here, I don't want
Okay.
that. So I am gonna erase that. I don't know, I'm trying to think of what I wanna do here. So the options are so, you know what I'm gonna do? I'm gonna create a mask by selecting the white areas.
What a good idea.
Yeah, because I was like, I painted that white right on a duplicate of the background, which was not what I was planning on doing. I just probably didn't add a layer again, is what I did. So, stupid. Or maybe I wanted to like kind of incorporate with the brush some of that background to have it pull into there, but the brush I used wasn't good for that anyway. So, I'm going to go to select, and I'm going to do color range. If you guys have a better way of doing this, let me know, because I really haven't spent enough time learning this
Paul
stuff.
suggests a clipping mask.
Clipping mask, okay.
Do you use those?
I don't use
very
clipping
often?
mask. Well, I do. However, so the thing with this is, this layer, let me hide that other background. Okay, that's really weird. What are we doing here? Oh, I think I erased some of that inside. So what this guy is doing is the layer that I painted, is this right? What am I doing? What am I looking at here?
I don't know.
Isn't that weird?
Yeah.
I'm not entirely sure what I've done, you guys, but because I thought I was painting in a free backgroundless layer on top of my background, but apparently I'm not. Anyway, regardless, my lettering is on a black background. So it would just select the whole thing. If I clip masked my halftoning on top of that, it would just go everywhere because it is everywhere. But what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna select the white areas and I'm gonna set a mask on my halftone layer so that I can only draw within that space.
Cool.
So the way that I'm gonna do that is select and then color range. No, yes, I wanna do highlights. Boom. Okay, so now my selection is starting to be the white areas, and I can kind of tweak the fuzziness of that a little bit so I can include more of those lighter areas. And then you can fudge with the range here a little bit.
Cool. That makes it so easy.
There we go. And I think that's good enough. I don't want it to start spilling too much out into the background, so that'll work right there. So then if I hit OK, I've got all that selected. So now I'm gonna go back and select my layer that I'm trying to draw on here. And then I'm gonna just go down and tap the mask button, this guy right here, boom. And so now, if I go back up to my purple zone, only the area that is inside my mask is showing.
So clean.
And easier, you know, I don't have to try and stay within the lines.
Right.
I
You
can
just-
color like a kid again and just like get loose.
You just
All
spent
right.
3 hours doing that. You're over it.
That's right. No more coloring the lines for me, thank you. So, all right, there we go. I can erase that. Let me go back to the brush now. What do you guys think about that? Do you use masks in any like creative ways? I'm curious how people use masks because I've never probably used them to the effect that I should be.
Yeah, let us know.
And now I've lost my color. Okay. Let's see. You, maybe? No? Thank you, sir. Okay, that's not working. Oh, I'm in my mask. Jeez. What a noob. Okay, so there we go. Now I'm painting on my layer and not painting in my mask. All right. I promise I deserve to be here, you guys. I'm not totally
That
brand
happens
new.
to me all the time. It should know. It should know what you're trying
You know?
to do.
Like I want to
Sensei,
draw
get
on the
with
mask.
it.
Come on. Come on, Photoshop.
You just
know
spent
me
all
better.
that time making that selection.
Yeah, what am I, some kind of chump? I think I was doing that for fun?
This is work.
Seriously. All right, so now we're kind of building that shade in there, and I want to kind of create a bit of an overlapping effect since I'm doing this as kind of like a half, like a shadow. I want to treat it like such so that when I'm thinking about these intersections and stuff, I want to do it in such a way that it looks like has a little bit more dimension. We talked in like the portfolio reviews yesterday about how some of those little choices in the notching and things of some of those letters, especially on that dark background, can create a little depth from those otherwise flat designs. And this is kind of the same thing here. So I'm gonna make like this crossbar, for instance, go through that A a little bit and kind of come over the second part. So in order to kind of finish that effect, now that I've got that erased, is I'm gonna come back to the brush and I'm gonna get this painted in here. These killer halftones and why?
Nice.
Oh, I think I hid the mask right there as I was painting in the mask, so I'll have to fix that. We'll get there. Now I do want to go into there. And
Tim says sometimes he even uses 2 masks on 1 layer. That's a good trick.
oh,
Mel
yeah,
says, I use masks for texture and shading and all kinds of things. Yeah, they're so useful and versatile.
seriously. There we go. Come on back.
I come from a vector background, so a lot of times I'll use a color fill layer instead of painting and then just paint on the mask instead.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, you can kind of like start from the opposite direction, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, totally. That's really helpful, especially if you I do that with like adjustment layers a lot. So like if I want to adjust just an area, I'll get the adjustment in there, look at how it's affecting the area that I want to affect, and then just kind of like mask the whole thing, paint it in over the area. Really, really good trick to kind of save time on fiddling with doing something in a small area. Just do it everywhere, make sure the settings are what you want, and then just kind of paint it right in. Like a little customized effect layer. I'm still painting in the darn. Okay, done with that.
So if you haven't already, check out the design challenge, the daily creative challenge in the challenge tab, and submit your work because we'll be looking at those later.
Can't wait.
Yeah, Ryan will give some feedback. Super useful.
Now we're talking. See, sometimes it's just the setup is the hardest part.
Yeah.
Now that I've got the setup done, it's like, okay, now I can actually just do what I want here. Come in here and paint these little light guys. And I am so excited to get back to my studio and just play with all the ways that I could put this to use. I've always wanted to be able to paint in this like varied weight halftone, because the way I've always done it before is like create it with gradients in Illustrator and then bring it in and do the auto halftoning and stuff in Photoshop. And that's just so much extra steps and stuff that I was just like, I just want to be able to paint it in there. I'm not great with gradients in Illustrator either, so like that would take me too long to begin with, and then having to do the whole other step in Photoshop. This is so much more interesting and fun, I think. So I'm really excited.
And at first I was wondering if those would actually be like print ready, but it looks like they're just black and just white.
Yeah.
So you could actually use this for a real screen print.
Absolutely. Yeah, and it's like, you know, pixel level. I mean, and some of these are a little bit more high fidelity than others. I found he's got. I mean, you saw how many halftone brushes there were in there. It's insane, and like some of them are like specifically very rough and really gritty, and other ones are a lot cleaner. So I grabbed what I thought was a pretty clean one, but you know, I maybe didn't even get the cleanest one. I'm not even sure. And actually, so I've done that one. I'm gonna actually duplicate that layer. Little Command J. hide that other one, and I'm going to erase. Because I think what I might want to do is an even smaller one. I'm gonna bump this up a little bit. Okay. All right, kept my mask since I duplicated that guy. And I'm gonna grab this mini. Because I think for the area that I'm actually painting in with this, I feel like smaller dots is going to be kind of more what I'm looking for, but I need my brush way smaller.
Ooh.
Oh yeah, now we're talking.
That's
Okay.
totally different.
Oh, yeah, this one's like more kind of like scattered too.
Yeah.
Yeah, I can really come in there and darken that edge a little more.
It's hard to believe that at one time people were cutting out halftones out of film.
Can you imagine most of the things that people with serious careers did at some point? It's just like, oh my God, like, is that really the best way you could think to come up with it? But it's like, yeah, I mean, you know, minus this kind of technology, it's like, what else you gotta do? Of course, I gotta cut this thing out of paper. Are you kidding me? What? No magician.
You get so much more tonal gradation with this one.
Yeah. You can really go in and create these darker spots. Because yeah, with a bigger sized halftone, you get only so much detail you can get in there before it just starts to get like completely filled, right? So it's like this one I can create the appearance of a heavier shade without it going totally purple.
Do you have a go-to palette?
No.
No? Black and white?
Mostly, yep. I was gonna joke about how I don't know why I would use color when there's so many great blacks and whites out there, but it's mostly just because like I never went to design school and I have no idea about anything about color theory or anything, so it's all just a ruse. I don't know anything. So I stay away from it typically, but I am trying more lately to break out of that mode and embrace it a little bit more, do a little bit more research, and wise up. There's probably some killer Adobe Lives that I can watch of people that really are really effective at it, and I need to just dive deep in some of these old replays because there's people a lot smarter than me doing amazing things. I know Kyle's got a bunch, right? Like he's got a bunch of videos on there too, Kyle Webster.
Oh yeah, yep.
Of him actually using and probably even making a lot of these brushes. So
right.
I really need to.
If you've never gone to the Creative Cloud YouTube channel, there are hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of just amazing videos for you to learn from.
Unreal. So exciting. Just the fact that that's all just YouTube. It's literally free.
Yeah, well.
That's a little soft.
I guess Anna is a photographer.
Okay.
And Kathleen suggests maybe incorporating some lettering on top of her photos. Do you ever do that? Oh, obviously your big project. You want to tell us a little bit about that?
Oh, sure, yeah. So, one of my most recent bigger projects was actually doing some extensive lettering work in the latest Sports Illustrated swimsuit issue, and so they didn't share the actual full photos with me ahead of time necessarily. But why is my mask not working? I don't know. I'm not gonna mess with it right now. And so, but they gave me like kind of some general like blurred photos with like enough of an idea of where the subjects were in the photos.
Yeah.
And so that I could work in those spaces. And that's really, really helpful for anytime you're doing any editorial or advertising. You're often doing the artwork that you're doing over a photograph of some kind or around some other copy that's really important to the ad, right? And so you gotta kind of fit in that space. And having that and having the ability to do something like this in Photoshop, you can put that image right there. It's not like with paper where you're just kind of doing it really detached from the actual context. You can do it on the context, which obviously helps for spacing and kind of like gauging how you're filling that space, but then also, yeah, just like seeing how that's going to interact. Like if there's like a really dark part of the photo, for instance, or a very light part, right? I would want to make sure that I don't put too much detail in that area so that it doesn't get lost in the lighter areas and like the sky back there or something, right? So being able to have that and being able to work directly on it totally changes the game for planning that stuff to a really, really professional level, because you can really kind of see it in its real environment that it's going to be in, which is perfect. Halftone brush. Okay. Here a little more. Boom.
So Kathleen's encouraging me to share the series that we've been working on together, which is called Make It Now. They're 1-minute videos covering all the different Creative Cloud apps.
Oh, okay.
But there's no voiceover or anything like that. We just show a really cool asset and how it gets built. So definitely take a look at those. They're the bright colored thumbnails on the Creative Cloud channel.
I'm really loving the new kind of the new styling of all the video content that Adobe's doing. It looks great. They sent me the little thumbnail of my video last week, and I was just like, oh, that is really cool.
It looks so good.
Can't wait to share that. I
Makes
guess
a
that's the
difference.
idea, right? You know, you make something that people want to pass around and share with people, and that helps. All right, I'm like literally not painting within the mask at all, so I don't know what the... This is what happens when you like talk while you're working.
Or when we ask you questions constantly
Yeah,
while
and
you're
I'm like,
working.
oh yeah, totally. So like, here's this thing, and then like, I'll just, I could draw while I'm talking, and then I totally do something I wasn't thinking I was gonna do, or whatever. Background's dark, it's cool. All right, I wanna finish this word, and then I wanna try and add another effect too with a different brush.
It's
a lot of times, sorry, a
no,
lot of times I'll play with style quite a bit before, you know, the last thing I wanna usually do is like experiment with a style or an effect or something on the whole thing, and then decide at the end of that I don't like it. So I'll kind of like get to a point, like an entire word, and then start playing with some other things and try a few things out before I spend all the time doing everything else. Yeah, sorry, what were you gonna say?
I was just gonna say, look how much more dimension that letter has than the others now.
It's got a little bit of a, kind of like a rounded effect, and you know, obviously I'm just kind of quickly dumping this stuff in there, and literally the first time I've used this brush ever, so I'll get better at doing that too, but yeah, just that quick you can really get quite the effect on there. And I think if I erase this spot right here.
How do you decide which stroke comes forward versus backward?
I try and do it in kind of a evenly altered kind of weaving pattern, right? So like with this A, for instance, actually meant for that, the left part of that stroke to go over that little swash that comes back around. But, so it would be like over that, under the next one, over the other one. Like I just try and make it balanced so that no one thing is like constantly on top of the other things, and just kind of make it so that it's a little varied and alternated. So sometimes there are certain elements that are more important to be on top.
Yeah.
So for instance, this T of the crossbar of the T, right? Actually, by default, just by the pressure I was using on this brush, this one almost looks like it's got a shade to the right of that main stroke. And with the crossbar of a T, having it go behind the main stroke is actually usually affects readability quite a bit, because it looks like maybe is that an L or is that something else, and then is that just like a swash behind it? Usually with a crossbar of a T, I'll always put it on top so that it looks like it was done over that as the second stroke, right? Because underneath would be the first stroke, and you don't cross a T before you do the T, right? So like something like that makes a little bit more sense and looks more natural if that crossbar is coming over, or is happening over that, right? So yeah, if I was doing this shade, come in here. Wow, that is heavy. What am I doing? So weird. Okay. Actually, I want to redo that. And then I'll erase. Sorry about my glasses, you guys. Did I mention I'm getting old? Okay. Fine. Erase. Cool. So then now it looks a little bit more like it's going over top, whatever. Very rough, but you get the idea. So yeah, some places it matters quite a bit, and other places it's just trying to make it look balanced, is all.
Cool.
Yep. Okay, so one of the other ones I wanted to definitely play with is one of these horizontal halftone guys. These are really, really cool. So if you think about like the illustrations that you would find on like money or like really old design where you've got that kind of shading that is done all with lines that are like different weights throughout to create the dark and light areas. This brush does that too, which is like unreal. So I'm gonna switch colors here. Let's see. I don't know, let's just grab this teal that I've been using for something else recently. It looks pretty cool. So if I got that, now this one is a diagonal and there's a few brushes in there for just different angles of the actual stroke of this brush. So this one is at an angle that is apparently very hard to see. Let's go, let's get, I know why it's doing that. My mask is at a different transparency. Okay, anyway, because that's why it was like dark, but it was still there. Anyway, so
Ooh.
how about that? So as I press harder, let's do this again. There's light, a little bit harder, and as I kind of color in, those darker areas stay on those same paths.
That is so, that's
right?
That's awesome.
And from a distance, it looks a little bit more like the way that you painted it in, but painted it in. There we go. But I'm gonna do a stroke that changes pressure along the direction of those things so we can see that a little better.
Cool.
So if you're actually a talented illustrator, unlike myself, I can draw letters, that's literally it. But you could create some incredible pieces just with like a brush like this and applying more here and less there, whatever, and really kind of just create this wild, incredible illustration, all line-based. And it kind of makes me wish I could do more with that. But for now, I can definitely apply some like kind of drop shade to this. So that's what I'm gonna do here.
Okay.
So what I wanna do is, I feel like I want to select, close enough. Okay, I want to select the contents of that other mask and invert it so that I do everything but paint on my lettering. So I'm gonna go in here.
So you selected all the pixels of that mask?
Yeah, so the way that I did that was I just command clicked into there, or control clicked if you're on Windows, into the actual little mask square down there. And that automatically selects all that selection. And actually, I kind of painted in with a halftone brush selection here. So let's get rid of that while I'm in here. So paintbrush. Oops, moving things around here. Actually, that one's fine. Let's grab that. I'll grab, I got black, great. That's not gonna work because I'm selected. Hang on. Deselect. Okay.
Tim's curious if you'd rather rotate the brush or the canvas.
That's a good question. So there's a lot of reasons why I do one thing or the other in different scenarios. We talked about how I really like using brushes that follow my pencil so that I can approach things from different ways. But aside from that, the reason that I rotate canvas so much, and on paper, I rotate my paper constantly. You see those videos on Instagram where somebody has like a camera above their paper and it never moves. Those people are insane, I'm pretty sure. Absolutely incapable of doing that. I have to rotate it because we talked about hand attitudes yesterday and like approaching something from the spot where you can use that natural pivot of your hand to improve your strokes and improve your curves or whatever. So the reason that I rotate something constantly is for a shape like this swash of this A right here, right? Can we get the camera on the hand again? Real quick. Oh, shit. Okay, so we're talking about hand attitudes, right? So if I am doing this shape here, this curve is going to be more natural to pivot my hand this way. But if I'm doing this side of it, if I'm gonna do this from here, I'm going against what my hand wants to naturally do, which is hard to do smoothly. So I always, and AstroPet is not great at this, I will say. I get at it from another angle, from the better angle for drawing that more naturally with the pivot of my hand. So then I can come in here and do this, and I can almost like effortlessly do that curve because that's the way my hand wants to move, right? So that is my main reason for rotating. So I want the brush to do what I'm doing, but also for that other reason, I want to have my thing that I'm working on in the right position for me doing it just as easily as I possibly can. So
Great
pretty good.
tips.
Yeah.
Hello,
Crucial.
Samuel.
Small
Thanks
things.
for joining. Chirag. Alexandra says, great stream. Can't wait to see the finished product.
Yeah, me too.
She's going to go have lunch.
All right, so now I got it selected again. Let me inverse. And I've got everything else selected, and I'm going to mask that. So now my mask on that guy is a black on white mask, essentially, now instead of the other. So now I can just paint outside my letters and not get on them. So now I can go grab that cool teal color. And
You're
do I
on the
have
mask
it? Oh, I'm in the
again.
mask again. Thank you. Okay, mask, teal. All right, and I'm gonna grab that brush. And am I still on the halftone? I am not. Okay. Maybe it was this guy? Let's find out. Hover. Yeah, halftone diagonal. Okay. That is one thing I like about using a mouse is it can more quickly see things like that, but it is what it is. And so now I want to kind of use the angle of this brush to kind of like determine where my shade goes. So I want to kind of like create this as like a directional shadow that is happening based on the light source that is like at the down the vanishing point of these paths here. So as I kind of come out here, I'm going to make it a little lighter.
I like that it kind of grits out.
Yeah, it's like, yeah, it's a little bit lower fi, a little rougher. And I'm gonna make it a little heavier right next to the letter. Cool. Is there any actual like manga artists in the chat that aren't using these things?
And
really
why not?
Should be, right?
Yeah, if you're going to take one thing away from this, Kyle brushes are very useful.
So good. And I won't say I was a skeptic for a long time, but I was just like, I don't know, I've made brushes before, like how good can they be? And some of these are really good, really good. He knows what he's doing. He's got a lot of practice, that's for sure.
I think I probably would have totally forgotten to do anything with that crossbar, like on that little edge.
I do it too. I forget things, and usually the point when I remember it is like right after I posted it to Instagram. It's like when all the things are revealed, all the little things that I want to nitpick over, I see them just past the point of it being a good time.
Dana says, my teenage self would have loved these manga tools.
Yeah.
A lot of us got our start there.
Yeah, I think that's right. And I think there used to be more, like, or maybe I'm just not looking in the right places anymore, but like brush sets, like brush pen sets and stuff that were like literally branded with manga, is that right?
Manga,
Am I saying it wrong? Okay.
Mm-hmm.
With manga art, like on the covers and stuff, like these are good for manga. And of course I'm interested in that. Let me get those brushes, and they're like the same ones that are in the lettering kit or something. But
now it's all bounce lettering.
Yeah, right. I see those and I cringe.
Can we talk about that? I've been dying to talk to a letter forward artist about bounce lettering.
Okay.
And if you're not familiar with what that is, just do a little Google search and you'll see about a million examples.
You can also search modern calligraphy.
Oh yes.
That's another common.
So what are your thoughts? What do you think?
Well, I feel like on one hand there is a place for everything, right? I mean, I think that if something makes someone happy and they want to do something, then more power to them. And if there's somebody out there that is here for it and all about that work and wants to consume it and buy it, great. However, as a person who's kind of always really focused on kind of like technique and trying to perfect the skill and stuff, I feel like there's a healthy dose of kind of like not being able to cut it and deciding to stop in the middle of a progression and call that your style going on. And probably my biggest qualm with it is readability.
Yep.
I posted a thing, maybe an Instagram story at one point. It was a piece that was featured on Crayola's Instagram from somebody that had done a piece with a Crayola marker or whatever. They reshared it. And it was in this modern calligraphy style, and the wild, all over the place bounce of this bass line really changed the letters that it was meaning to put in there to something that was very unfortunate. I don't remember exactly what the word became, but I had to reshare it and point out, like, this says this. Like, that's not what they meant, and Crayola should have probably seen that.
Yikes.
But yeah, there's only so many ways you can really push the envelope of a letter before it stops being that letter and often becomes something else. So sometimes that can be a very unfortunate legibility problem that becomes something entirely different than you meant for it to. And that seems to be the case more often than not with that style, because it's too loose for a lot of applications. But again, you know, if it makes you happy, and there's people out there that are into it, you know, who am I to judge? I never want to be one of those sticklers that is like impossible to deal with because they're obsessed with the rules. Because, I mean, the rules say that I should not be doing this.
Oh, yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
No formal training. I never, like, apprenticed under anybody, because that's how this stuff used to be taught, is like person to person on the job, right? And, like, never had that, never sought it out, decided specifically to do it myself. So if I cared about rules, then I would have done it totally differently. So
And everybody starts somewhere.
that's right.
If it, inspires somebody to actually push themselves beyond those little workbooks, then that's great.
Yeah. I mean, hell, I started out doing very, very rough work in an attempt to do it right, and it was just not good because I was just starting. But it instilled in me like this constant desire to always grow, and at every moment and every chance I got to do something that would push me a little bit and take me out of my comfort zone and try something new, I grabbed onto that, and I sought out those opportunities over ones that would be something that I was really familiar with, right? So I think as long as you develop that love for it and really chase after just always learning and realizing that you really can just learn from anyone something, right? So and not losing that and deciding that you've got this all figured out and that you're going to stop progressing where you are and just capitalize. Outside of that, I think everybody's just having fun, and I like it.
It goes back to what you were saying yesterday about being able to identify good influences.
Yes.
And I think that maybe the influences that are around now are a little bit different. This style is so pervasive that we need Alpha to be promoting more incredible letter-based artwork.
Well, it's interesting you say that, Erica. Like total plug opportunity, but yeah, I mean that's a big part of what we want to do. Aside from great client work and workshops and teaching the stuff ourselves from me and other people that I see as really talented people who are teaching the right way, and all that stuff. Aside from just that, just like trying to shine a light on all the best, most quality work in this field, so that we can kind of change the perception a little bit about what is good, and not just basing those perceptions on what is most, what's the word I'm looking for?
Visible.
Yeah, just most. There's a better
Popular.
word. Sure. Yeah,
Whatever.
It's fine. Pervasive.
Pervasive.
the thing that's in front of everybody all the time. They see it and they see it and they see it and they see the followings of these people that are doing this stuff, and they've gained awesome audiences on the popularity of that style that they're focusing on. And as something becomes fully saturated like that, I mean, people see that. To the untrained eye, it's like, okay, this is lettering, this is good.
Mm-hmm.
And it's a thing, it's its own thing, and there's people that do it to a better effect than others for sure, and it is what it is. So our focus is to kind of like recenter that gaze on things that are more worth learning from and studying. So there we go.
Cool. And that's why you're here.
That's why I'm here.
Kathleen's wondering how your lettering party went last night.
It was really fun. We went to Southern Pacific Brewery and had some nice drinks. We had, I've been on keto for a while. I think we may have mentioned that yesterday. But we've determined that the way to be successful, my wife and I, at doing this is to give ourselves like a carb loading one cheat meal every 2 weeks. So last night was my cheat meal, and I had quite a few great old fashions and a half a vegetarian pizza. So
wow,
pretty great.
Sounds dreamy.
It was awesome. Met some awesome people. I don't know how they afford to live here because they're too cool to like.
They have 20 roommates.
Yeah, that's probably it. Yeah. A couple of them gave me some really cool pins, one of which my new friend Amanda gave me a pin that is like a slice of pizza, which using it for my one cheat meal of the next 2 weeks should indicate that that's like my favorite. But they had little pepperonis on them that were peace signs.
Aww.
And I said, is this a pizza? And she kind of looked at me like that wasn't the point. And I was just like, oh man, if it's not, it should be. Or I think she maybe just didn't hear me because we could have like reveled in that like that bond of corniness, or cheesiness, if you will. And so, but very cool pen and some awesome people. It was a ton of fun. Cool outside. Oh my god.
Kathleen says, ha ha ha, are you saying tech workers aren't cool, Ryan?
No, not at all. Not at all. I just feel like, I don't know, the people I met seemed like they belonged, some of them in some of the like really hippie neighborhoods of Austin, like where I'm at. Not that I live in one of the hippie neighborhoods. I live in a suburb because I'm old, and I have kids and I need a good school district, but
all very important things.
They seem like my kind of people is really what I was thinking. But so is everybody
giving you a
here.
hard time.
Every time I come here, I'm just like, you guys are all the best. I want to come like get a UX job or something here because I miss working with cool people sometimes. It's just me and the dogs and cats at home, so they're fine and all, but they're needy and they don't make good conversations. So.
I kind of wish we had a couple of those around here.
A couple animals, yeah. In the workspace where you have other people you can escape to and have conversations with, they're probably fine. But when that's the only interaction you have in a day, it's kind of like, all right.
Yeah.
You guys are getting old. So, this sure as heck beats drawing all these lines by hand.
Yeah.
In this kind of shaded style. So just another thing that I'm getting super excited about using these things for, because I always liked this kind of like shade, like drop shade style, but it's so time consuming to do, right? To draw those lines, and then you gotta worry about your spacing and your parallelity. That's not a word. I don't know what else it would be. So I don't do it, but this is like a total door opening for me now. We're like, maybe this could be. And I'm erasing. Okay, great. It's my first day in Photoshop, guys. Welcome. Yeah, the right brush can just really just totally unlock your creativity, right? You can just really, the ideas start flowing once you've seen something that gives you, a million other project ideas for things you could use that specific thing for that you never thought about before.
That might be a good prompt. If you're having a hard time coming up with something, just say, okay, I'm going to click on this brush, and whatever it is, we're going to work with it.
Yeah, I like that. Like, just play around. And if it's like, so often when I'm in here looking for brushes, it's for a brush that I have in mind that I want to be able to accomplish this thing that I already have in my head. But what happens more often than not is that I don't find those brushes, and I end up spending 2 hours just playing with brushes because it's so fascinating and fun to do that I completely forget what I came in there for, and I just start playing. But if I don't have anything already in mind, that might be the better time to start exploring, because like, yeah, you might find the great idea for the project that you don't even know about yet by stumbling into some really cool brushes. So like, I feel like I literally feel like I want to do manga now, and I can't even draw a bath. Yeah.
Back at it again.
My daughter, oh my God, she always says like, what should I draw? Because she really loves drawing and she's really creative, but she uses me like a crutch to get all of her ideas from. And I'm like, I used to give her a few, but I'm just like, you know what? Like, this is the part of the process. Like, be creative. Think of something that you want to draw, not what I want to tell you to draw. So I started just saying, draw a bath. And she, of course, isn't an old person, so she doesn't know what draw a bath. It didn't know. She's 11 now. She gets it now. But she's like, you know, okay. And then she'd like literally draw a bath. And then she's like, what else should I draw? I'm like, draw the short straw. And she's like, okay. Aww. And then like, I was just like, you know what I'm doing to you, right? And she's like, yes, I get it now.
What's it like to raise a creative child, being a creative dad?
It's, you know, I talk about this quite a bit with other people who have kids and are trying to figure out how to do the balance thing and everything. But, and you know, a lot of times my answer to those questions is that I'm not really sure. I don't know what the best thing is to do for balancing your time, because I feel like I've never been great at it. Like, I've always worked from home and just kind of decided that once they come home from school, I'm kind of like giving up on the day in a lot of ways, or like not trying too hard to make sure that I get more work done while they're home, because like, it's just a bad experience for everybody. But the thing that's more interesting to me is more this topic, right? Like, what's it like to raise a creative kid? And I have two. My daughter is very crafty and does like to draw and paint, and is actually really, really good. And more importantly, really fast at painting. I had some canvases laying around that I had been keeping to myself, but there's literally a stack, and I've had them for like 2 years and never used them. So I finally was just like, you know what? Why am I? No, you use them, take them. Yes, you can have my canvases, do something with them. She had 5 paintings in an afternoon, and they were all like better than I would have done, because I don't paint. You know, I'm fine at creativity or whatever. But she like banged out all this art in no time, and I was just like, hang on a second. When did you start? Did you like ask me after you'd already started and hoping that I would say yes or what? But no, she was just like, she's super fast at painting, really pretty good. And I'm like, all right, that's interesting. But like she's the painter and the crafter. And then my son is actually very creative in another way. There was a long time where he wanted to be like a visual artist, or at least he said, maybe because of me, I don't know. But he was kind of never really great at it. But he has decided that he wants to be a producer, a music producer.
Wow.
And that is where he found his like really special skill and talent. And he is 14, and we're literally in the process of like branding him and his music to sell, because I used to rap. I don't know if we talked about this.
No.
That was the artist I saw myself as being for most of my teenage years and early 20s. I was literally serious about it.
Is there documentation?
Probably. But more importantly, though, not of any doing to me or from me, and no encouragement, he found all of those same interests on his own and got into it, and I kind of like answered some questions and like pointed him in the right direction on some software or whatever. And we bought him a MacBook for his 12th birthday a couple years ago, and he immediately started using it to make music, and he is so good, like really good, way better than I maybe ever was at the production side of things, and like crazy, like shockingly good. So I'm like, okay, we need to like this thing, right?
What a cool project.
So cool.
Branding the person that you literally raised and know better than anyone else.
Yeah. Talk about not needing a creative brief. I'm like,
Wow.
no, I know you. I know your company.
What a lucky kid.
I think so, right? So we started out. Hang on a second. I'm using the history brush. Get out of here. We started by converting his room. I built a loft bed for him. So we've got his queen bed, like 5.5 feet up in the air, maybe, so that we could build a studio underneath it and use like the whole floor space of his room for his music studio. And I'm still erasing. And then so we got that all set up, got him some good speakers, whatever, some cool lights, and built this like super creative space for him because he's always been kind of interested in sports too and stuff, but never really seemed to care about them enough to like really get better for, in anything he really tried. And so instead of continuing to spend all the time and resources and stuff that goes into athletics and all that stuff that he was just kind of interested in, he really just consistently showed this strong desire for the music stuff. So we were like, listen, if you decide that you want to take a break from trying to do soccer and trying to do basketball and whatever, all these things, and you want to instead spend your time working on the music and the more creative stuff, we'll put all that same time and money that we were going to put into football equipment and whatever else into your music. We'll get you some equipment. We'll support this fully if that's what you want to pursue. And that's what he decided to do. And it's like he's gotten so much better and it's really incredible. But it made me think about the differences, right, between like my childhood and theirs. And in so many ways, like, as I'm saying this stuff to him, I'm like, God, you know what? Like, if my parents had seen this creative streak that I maybe showed a little bit as a kid, whether it be music or drawing and stuff, like, and they saw that as a perfectly viable path, like I do, of course, what would my life have been like, right? Like, I didn't go to school for design at all. I didn't end up going to school for much at all. I got an associate's in business and that's it. And so what would I have done otherwise if I had like really been pushed in that direction to really pursue that instead of sports and instead of like, some random general studies type of schooling or something like that because I needed to get a job that made money. Like, but with them, having a parent who works for themselves and kind of does what they want and makes a living creatively, like that's all they've ever known. So like, why wouldn't they see that as a perfectly reasonable thing to be interested in and pursue, and just our ability to keep supporting that is just one of the most happiest things about my life as a adult, as a parent. It's been amazing.
It's so heartwarming. Wow.
I haven't seen them for 3 weeks because they've been in Indiana with their grandparents.
Are you so excited to go home?
I'm like beside myself right now. I leave straight from here and go straight to the airport, and I can't get there soon enough. I'm so excited. So excited. If you guys happen to be watching, I love you. See you guys soon.
I don't even know you, and I love you too. You sound like such cool kids.
They're amazing. They're so good.
We are 20 seconds away from doing these reviews, so this is your last chance to submit for the Daily Creative Challenge.
I want to see.
Yeah, there's some good stuff rolling in. Dana says, I feel like kids are so much more impressionable than people consider. If someone didn't tell me when I was like 13 that I was good at art, I wouldn't have known. It's so true. Yeah,
because every kid thinks they're an artist at some level, right? So.
All right, are we going to space? No, we're not going to space. That's only on Portfolio Day. We're going to Discord.
Boom.
Here we are.
A different kind of space.
Paca's like, no, you're not.
No space. No space for you.
But I want to go. Okay. So here we are for all of these current challenge submissions. And if you're interested in what you see here, you can always watch the replay of Jesus's Daily Creative Challenge this morning, and definitely tune in tomorrow for the next one as well. All right. This one has sort of like a printmaking-y feeling.
Yeah, like this feels like it might be it reminds me of the canvases that I always see at the art store that are like burlap canvases, right? Like you get that awesome texture of that really coarse woven fabric on there, and then like what happens when you paint over that or something.
Yeah.
Pretty awesome. Yeah, or like a print thing too. Like I see that as well, like a very kind of like casually and intentionally roughly cut linoleum block or something like that, where it's kind of like intended for all that great texture and stuff. So cool.
It really looks like that white is floating on top of the other stuff, as if it were real material. Good job.
Cool.
That was Goldfinch's work. Can't deny the pupper. Really?
Now hang on a second.
Okay.
Okay, yeah, I'm seeing it now. I was just like, was this done on paper? That was it's a pretty good little mock-up job there. I was just like, it does look like a ballpoint pen, right?
Yeah.
And I think Jesus might have been talking about some effects and use of patterns and stuff, because I'm seeing like the same pattern that lives in this one that kind of looks like a cross-hatched ballpoint pen sketch that was kind of in that previous one too, that was kind of looking like the canvas texture or something.
Yeah.
Pretty interesting that that same brush could be that versatile for doing something like this.
I was thinking that it was smart to kind of make it look a little smudgy on the edge. Like putting in those flaws of real material always makes it a little more convincing.
Yeah, and I think maybe even like the next step could be like a threshold of some kind, or like something to kind of like make those look like pen strokes that kind of faded out to nothing. Yeah, it'd be pretty cool. Maybe try that and see. I love the color though. The color is like spot on ballpoint pen ink. Really cool.
It's a little bit purpley.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Nice. So cool. And these are, I like a lot of these are from photos. I think that's what he was doing this morning, if I remember right. Yeah. I would love to see the photograph that this started with, because of that awesome like ring light reflection in the eye. Like it looks like a killer photo.
Yeah, just so sparkly and happy.
Love it.
Let's see what else we have. Okay, tropical. Cool.
Nice.
How might we push this?
That's a good question. So, I really like the kind of like transfer nature of like the texture and stuff.
Sort of looks like a Xerox or something.
Yeah, for sure,
Yeah.
which is cool. And I think that it looks less like a sketch, which I think was kind of like the goal, but it became something different and equally cool. That it's like it almost looks like a stick. What am I thinking of? What is it striking me as? I don't know. That texture is really doing a ton of work, and it makes it look like I don't know. Maybe I'd love to see it with the background maybe being the same texture, so it kind of looked like it was like a really high quality digital print on like some really cool textured paper or something. And look a little bit less composited that way. Maybe, I don't know.
Yeah.
But the texture on the background is also cool. So maybe like a version with the background texture on everything and the foreground texture on everything. I think that would be really cool to see which one wins.
Thanks for sharing.
Yeah.
Similar.
Yeah.
I wonder if there was an asset included or something, and that's where that background came from.
Oh yeah, that does the
project.
exact same background too.
Yeah.
That's true. And looks like we were kind of like maybe working with the constraint of that same pattern too. Which it's the interesting thing about that pattern though is people are making it look so different.
Right.
By
There's
using
more
that
color
same
modulation in here.
Yeah, it's like doing a little bit. Maybe it's like a blending mode thing. Like it's doing an overlay, and then somebody else did like a multiplier or something like that, and it's doing wildly varied effects because of that. It's really cool.
It's great to see y'all experimenting. Got a black background on this one. It's a different vibe.
Yeah. It's the thing that gets so cool when you start to really explore like blending modes and stuff, and just the scale even of patterns, right? And like how wildly different of an effect it can have when you just allow it to go over something underneath it that's, in a little bit different way with a different blending mode. It's cool what the massive range of, of options you can have at that point. So I think this is like totally transparent in the background too, right?
Oh yeah,
Floating
I guess
hands,
so. Yeah.
Very cool.
I like how light this is. It just feels soft and
super subtle, yeah. I like it.
Nice. Oh, we have a little before and after here.
Okay.
Cool.
Very cool. I like the muted color palette of that one.
Me too. I think it comes through in a really cool way in the background. You have these sort of like blues and greens, and I like that.
Yeah. It would be, I'm thinking about right now like how super difficult it would be to like if you think of that pattern as like cross-hatched strokes of like colored pencil or something like that, how incredibly difficult it would be to like create that end result by like, you know, sketching in those specific directions.
Right.
Like I've seen people do something like that. It's like, it's basically like screen printing with colored pencils or something kind of, and crossing different colors over in different areas to make different ones. Like there's people that can do that, and it's like a totally different mind level from where I'm at, that's for sure. Very cool.
See.
She almost looks illustrated in the picture because she's like so colorful and decorated.
I like the Band-Aid.
Yeah.
Let's see. Anything? Oh,
that's interesting.
yeah. I like the composition.
Yeah. Gosh, if there was like a streak coming from the back, like across the plane, like that she's going, it would kind of look like she was like pulling herself along by her arms because she lost her lower half.
Oh, okay. That's not where I thought that was going.
But no, she's just swimming or something. Right?
Yeah,
she's
I was
like
thinking
at
of
the edge
like
a
a shadow on the surface of the water. But if you want to go there, that's okay too. Sam, feel free to heed either of those suggestions.
Samzilla.
I think you know which one.
Is it a zombie or is it a lady in water?
Okay. Moving on.
Good job. Ooh, the folds. That's pretty cool.
I like the folds.
Yeah. So this looks like like the first stage of a full color like CMYK screen print.
Yeah.
Or something. Like this is the layer that goes down, and then the background is gonna be also magenta, also yellow, whatever, and like become a black background, and then the other layers of those other colors are going to create that full color photo of this person.
It might be cool to even do one or all of those different layers and offset them a little bit and see what happened.
Yeah. Just kind of create like a really like trippy 3D kind of look. That'd be cool.
Yeah. People are saying the texture adds so much. Yeah. And Kathleen, thanks for the reminder. The challenge was to edit a photo to make it look like a drawing. And
cool.
Yeah, you can still participate, post your work here, and get feedback from your community. All right. Oh.
That looks like, it looks like what we were talking about earlier,
I'm
right?
convinced.
Ballpoint pen drawing of itself. That's pretty cool.
I like it.
So like, it seems like they've done something around the edges too, to even make it look more realistic, right? Like, I wish I could like zoom in real tight on that to see what's done on those edges. Because especially up in the lighter area up here, like it really looks like, is this computer set up to zoom in? Nope. Okay, never mind. It's all right. It's fine.
Oh.
Okay, yeah, let's do that. Good enough, yeah. That, yeah, so like this area up here, it really looks like how you would probably solve that if you were like crazy good with drawing with a ballpoint pen, which there are people that do that too. I've seen some wild ballpoint pen sketches, and I can't do that with a pencil, but that is very much looks like what that would look like if you did it. So cool.
You did something kind of smart too, where you inverted the colors, which makes it harder to compare one to the other, and somehow makes this other one feel more realistic.
I didn't even catch that. That's absolutely right. They are different.
Yeah.
Oh,
it's like you're not trying to measure it against itself as much.
Right. Well, I see that too in this like this shadow over here that kind of seems like a shadow here, but over here this is the light area, right? And then the clip is light, and then it's the opposite.
But it doesn't bother me somehow.
No, it doesn't look wrong.
Right.
At all.
How'd you do that?
Pretty smooth.
You tricked us.
Yeah, you got me. So cool.
Let's see. What else do we have?
Yeah, that's clever. Good idea too. Okay, so another solution for that same photo.
Yeah.
And
More
a
paper
wildly different look. Yeah, a lot heavier texture. It looks like that crosshatch pattern has been scaled up quite a bit, because before it was very fine, detailed, and this one it's not only bigger, but maybe looks like it's kind of got some contour to it, like some dimension as well. Like maybe we're using that as like a emboss or something like that.
I don't know. And then we have a little bit of different texture in certain areas. I don't know if that's part of the effect or something that they added, but it feels like charcoal.
Yeah.
A little bit.
Yeah, I mean, I wonder if it's just like the interaction between the crumpled paper texture and the crosshatch or something. But yeah, it works to really interesting effect.
I like the highlight color. Yeah, that's nice.
And kind of cool that before too, it was like the photo seemed like it had a dark background, and now it's like very, very well cut out of that. So whether that was added on the dark background or whether this was removed, great job on either account.
Yeah.
Pretty cool.
Thanks for sharing, Paul. Okay, maybe there's some more stuff down here.
Let's see who's new.
Oh, that's new.
Oh yeah.
Oh, kind of a collage composite thing happening.
Speaking to me here, like a little maybe I'm feeling like a love letter on the left hand side, right? And then some mandalas. Pick your poison.
I like that you're starting to build a story. You know, she has a certain expression. Don't really know. Is it a Dear John? Who knows?
Right. Is it a you broke my heart, you dirty coward, or is it a I miss you so much? It's kind of hard to tell with like the lower level of detail of the illustration of that person, and then like, you know, the letter that's imposed is kind of like just there enough to not know the story, but like know that there is one and you're missing it somehow.
Yeah, and that's what draws me in.
Yeah, so cool. Good job.
Great. Bubbles.
Good job, Bubbles.
All right.
Good job, guys. That's so fun. We didn't do this the last time I was here. We didn't get to do the design challenges. It was just portfolio reviews and stuff, which is also fun. But this is different and also pretty cool. You get to see like in real time some people working on that same concept with some of the same tools and resources and doing wildly different things, which is like really cool and just kind of proves the power of these tools, right? Like that they can do anything. Awesome.
I think it's also really cool if you're a beginner, because then you know you're not alone. There are other people learning along with you.
And just like my daughter, the prompt is sometimes the thing you're missing, right? Whether that's a new brush that gives you an idea for something cool, or you know, the constraint of use this pattern, do this ultimate end goal, but do it in a creative way. And that's some of the where the best stuff comes from, is like having the guardrails that you have to stay within, and then doing something amazing within that. So pretty sweet.
And there are going to be more challenges throughout the week and next, so definitely tune in and follow along.
So awesome. Cool. I need to participate in some of these.
Me too.
I'm really excited about it.
I could use the exercise.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The exercise of the hand?
Yes.
Or just like the skills?
And the brain and the skill. All of it.
Do it while on a treadmill.
No.
No. Have you ever tried doing anything like while working out in any fashion? Like there's people that have like the treadmill desks, right? The Peloton.
You know, they put those in at Adobe and they did not last long.
Is it right?
They disappeared.
Huh.
Yeah.
I could see knocking out emails while doing that.
Yes.
Less so drawing.
I don't even really like standing while I'm working, to be honest.
I go back and forth on it. Like I've got a custom standing desk that I built because my aversion to standing desks for the longest time was just the fact that none of them went high enough for me. At least not to where I want to draw. Like typing, maybe, sure, but a standing desk doesn't come up to where I like to draw, which is like this close to me. And so that would be a really, really high desk. You can't see now, but I'm 6'4", so well, sure, most people don't. But I built myself one that I could use, and I don't know. Yeah, I get tired of standing, which I guess is kind of the point. It's more activity in some way for your body, but maybe I just need to get one of those cool ergonomic mats where you can stand on it. And
or like the little board that teeters.
Oh my God!
Stand on
Now
it.
we're talking about some real design challenge. I'd be up there like challenging myself to like, this is getting too easy. Let me make this a little more interesting.
Engage my core.
Let me do this inverted. I'm gonna hang upside down and stick my paper to the underside of my desk and draw.
Okay. So for the last 10 minutes, we're...
I'm gonna try and finish this little thing, because I think if I do that, and I'm actually, you know what I'm gonna do? I'm gonna hide that purple halftone right now. But what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna finish content, because I think that's all I got left here. Oh, we got 10 minutes? Yeah, okay. So I'm gonna do that so we can kind of get a look of this particular solution on the whole piece, because I think that this is, while I may do it a little bit more in a more considered approach and a little cleaner on the ultimate thing, I think this might be something that I want to incorporate in the final thing. Cool. At least some kind of drop shade. So I'm going to finish this one out. so we can kind of see something that feels a little more completed before we wrap up. I'm notorious on these Adobe Lives for like showing a lot of fun stuff and then like not actually finishing anything. So I want to try and accomplish something that can reasonably be called finished. So we were talking during Hannah's Adobe XD Live yesterday about perfectionism and it being the enemy of done.
Absolutely.
And
or starting.
Yeah, right. Yeah. Like, oh, I can't start yet because it's not, my scenario is not right. You know,
Right.
And yeah, I mean, it's a real challenge. There's a lot of times where I just have to kind of like let go of something or just remember to tell myself that nobody cares about the minute, super tiny details at least as much as I do. So I gotta remember that like what is far above and beyond perfect for somebody else may not be up to my standard, but it's not always about my standard. It's the client's work, right? It's their thing that they're buying. So sometimes if it more than accomplishes what they need and want, then that's where you stop. And
Totally.
it's tough.
And they hired you because they knew you were capable of doing what they needed.
Right.
So.
And there's times where I feel like it is perfect and I've done the best thing for them and they don't like it. So,
Yeah, it happens.
Yeah, you just gotta play it by ear, advocate for what you as a professional know is the right solution or the right style or whatever, and then like, sometimes come to some compromises, but if you really feel like the thing that you've done is correct based on your professional opinion, then again, that is what they hired you for. So sticking to your guns is important too, but not to the detriment of everyone involved by taking it way too far, because that's not helpful either.
Tim says, work while working out? I'd have to start working out without working first.
Oh, you and me both. I got a gym membership a few weeks ago though, so that's a step in the right direction.
Step one.
I haven't been yet. However, the plan was to, and then my wife actually injured her foot.
Oh,
so
no.
obviously I can't work out without her, so
Right.
we're waiting to start
You have to
together.
support her.
That's right. She needed ice and she needed, things like that. She didn't need any of that. She was perfectly capable of handling herself. Also, she was going to work and stuff, so there was plenty of time for me to go. I do not want to insinuate that she was keeping me from going, but yeah. We're gonna try and make it a whole family thing, and the kids are really excited about it. So make it happen. Make a habit of it. Get in shape. Be healthy. We also have a killer pool at this one. It's a lifetime, and so they have like indoor and outdoor pools there, both with water slides.
That's a bit much.
That's a bit much.
Extra.
That's true. It is a bit much. It's like, oh, this is the gym, but also a water park. Get your laps in, and then like get another workout going up the stairs to the slide 50 times or something. Not a bad idea, actually.
Lindsay says, I have a friend who has a desk set up so he can lie down with the keyboard cut in half so it is on either side of his body.
What?
I envy it.
That is super interesting. Yeah, so like what? Half a keyboard on either side of him while laying down? What are you looking at? Is there a screen above?
On the
mounted?
ceiling?
Yeah, I'm curious.
Huh.
Or is he doing this?
Yeah, is the laptop rested on his belly?
That seems like all the benefits of not sitting at a regular desk that's not great for you and not ergonomic and whatever. That seems like pushing that extreme in the wrong direction maybe. But, I don't know, maybe we're thinking of it wrong. I don't know. I'm always fascinated by those split keyboard things too. Like some are just made like that, and I don't know if I could do it. I feel like I learned how to type the right way in school.
Home
and
row.
I mostly do it, exactly, home row. And I definitely don't hunt and peck. I type without looking, but numbers, I usually still have to look at, for sure. And then I feel like there is times where I hit some of those middle keys with either finger. So I'd have to like really take a moment and consider how I'm actually accomplishing my typing before I committed to something like that, for sure. I don't know if I could do it.
She says the screen is suspended above him with this bonkers apparatus. He and I both have bad backs, so sitting for extended periods is difficult.
Okay.
Yeah. So
all right. So now we're getting
it's
interesting.
for your health.
I have a bad back too, so now I'm intrigued. But my thing is, I have a situation where if I'm in bed for too long, lying down, my back is worse the next day.
Yeah.
So I kind of like, if I'm in bed for more than like 6 hours, I'm miserable for most of the day. Yeah. So I'm gonna escape and straighten that out. All right.
Look at it.
So now that, I'm looking on the screen here now. Okay, it's a little dark, so why don't we just duplicate that and see what that looks like?
It's a good trick. Oh.
Yeah. So now we're talking. Now I wonder how much of that like graininess is like too much now.
It's a little different.
Yeah. It's a little more filled. Let me hide one of those. Weird, at this level it doesn't look like it does much at all.
Curl is asking, what is the name of the brush Ryan is using?
Okay, good question. This is, it's Kyle's halftone, and this is in his halftones and screen tones brush kit. Also free, you know, if you don't remember or weren't here for how to get to that, you literally just go there and go to get more brushes down there. It takes you right to the page where you can download. But yeah, this is in that screen tones and halftones brush set, and this is this one near the bottom, WZ diagonal. I'm not sure what WZ stands for, but it's on a lot of these at the bottom. And he's probably got some documentation there that I just haven't explored enough yet. But there's several round dot halftones, some diagonals and stuff down here that all have that kind of that WZ labeling for whatever reason. And it's probably really obvious, and I'm just not thinking of it. I'll think of it later.
I don't know either.
Yeah, I don't know. Okay. But yeah, there's ovular ones down there, like there's ovals in the lower left. There's like kind of inverted ones where like you're painting in the background and then leaving the dots themselves open. So, and this thing is full of really cool, just halftone brushes of all kinds. So cool.
That's an absurd amount.
It's nuts. Yeah, absolutely. And it's cool. And there's like ones that are like triangles and grids. So like a kind of a more like a cross hatching kind of thing. So yeah, I mean he goes deep, man, I tell you. And there was one in the manga, which just to kind of show you here in the last minute or so, one that I really liked too was what? Crazy Lines? Crazy Lines or Short Burst? Okay, let's see. So this guy. And
I was curious about that one.
Yeah, right? There's some very interesting things happening here. Okay, I'm just hiding my other layers here. Let me get a new one so we can play with this. White. If you've learned nothing else, right? Look at that brush shape. How about that? Okay.
Whoa.
Right?
That's the explosion brush.
Yeah.
I love that.
Do it with a little curve, and it gets
so cool.
Real crazy. That's cool. And then the last one I want to show you is you just said the word burst. How about that? I was pretty excited about this. I was like, I don't know what I'd use that for ever, but that's pretty sweet. So
sound effects. Crash.
Dig into those brushes. Use them as an inspiration to think about the thing that you haven't thought of yet because you didn't know you could accomplish something so easily, like these halftone things and stuff. I mean, so cool.
So cool.
Yeah. Well, we got a finished piece actually out of this thing, huh? We got.
That's pretty great. How often does that happen?
Not enough for me.
Ooh, it kind of. There's something there, I think, with it just being knocked out.
I think you're right. Forget my my weak lettering. That could be cool by itself. And if you hadn't really noticed or didn't see yesterday, this background that I made in fresco, look at this thing.
Cool. Super gritty.
Yep. Paint for days.
On that note, Ryan, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you.
We have plenty of awesome stuff coming up later today. Ryan will be back hosting the XD Creative Challenge is coming up, and definitely tune in the rest of the week. We have some great stuff, including the Photoshop Daily Creative Challenge.
Right. Yeah. I'm excited. Yeah. Thank you guys so much for having me.
Bye.
See you soon.